First, I'm going to show you how to edit in Camera Raw. If you're shooting in RAW format, the extension on your files will be .cr2. You can set your camera, if you're shooting in manual, to capture both RAW and JPEG images, which I do. If you're shooting in auto, it will only capture JPEG, as far as I know. So I'll start with the raw images. You can see I've captured a few different exposures here, and we're talking specifically about white because white will reflect light, as you should know by now. And if that light coming from beside your white object is, green, like if you're shooting some people in white t-shirts and there's, a lot of green trees and stuff like that, the light reflected back on the white shirts will make them a little bit green. So although I didn't have anything to reflect any color onto this shirt, this also shows you how you can get a good image. This is straight out of camera, no adjustments have been made. I shoot always, unless requested otherwise, on this neutral gray background, as much natural light as I possibly can, if not diffused. I like white daylight fluorescent bulbs behind a white umbrella. This, you can see a little shadow in the background. If you pull your subject away from the background, you'll have less shadow or softer shadow at any rate. Also non-directional light, which means light from that kind of filters in from everywhere. So that's why you want to diffuse your light. You don't want it to be too direct. So I'm going to open this up in Camera Raw, and I'm going to show you how to tweak your images for that exposure triangle we talked about, the ISO, aperture, and shutter speed, which obviously you can't adjust now, right? Because it's already done. So this was my ideal image. Let me go back, and I'm actually going to open the one that was a little underexposed for you. Sorry. So you can see this is a little dark. I think it's because my ISO is at 320, which means that there's a lot less grain in this image, I think, than the other one, which we can compare in just a minute. But I just wanted to show you the settings really fast. You can see your exposure right here. So those three elements make up your exposure, and it's a little bit on the dark side in this image. So if you just use your slider and move it up, you're going to get a nice even brightening. This could even go up a little higher. And I've gone up 2 full stops right there. Nice and white. Like I said, I didn't have any color cast on it because I didn't use a colored background. You can reduce shadows by lightening them up with this setting, or by reducing your contrast just a little bit, which is better in portrait photography rather than product photography. You might want a little more contrast in your products. You can also lighten your blacks. So you can play with these settings a little bit, boost your whites just a little so they are a little whiter. You can play with those to get what you want. Be careful with them. You don't want things to be too intense or too dark. Now, temperature refers to how warm or cool your image appears. And you can adjust for that in camera with your white balance. So as shot, this is what it looks like. You can see the values here. And there's also presets, so you can come in here afterward and have it tweak it. Now, in portraiture, you want a nice warm skin tone so they don't look dead. But in your product photography, if you're shooting white, you might want to go a little on the cool side so that the eye doesn't perceive a yellow white, okay? And you can see how that changes pretty quickly, right? I liked the way mine came out. I thought it was great. It might be a touch on the warm side, so we could bring it down just a hair like that. I don't even know if you see it a little bit of a change. And your tint is another setting that you're going to want to watch. In camera, you can also set these settings in camera. I think your tint might be called your tone in camera, at least on a Canon. It can look a little pink or a little green. And this might be where if you have some color cast on your images, you might be able to tweak that a little bit. You can see how it gets a little pinker, a little purpley even near the end. And if you bring it back, it gets a little green. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have that within a happy range so that it's appealing to the eye. Again, mine came out really nice and neutral. I like the way it came out. I'm not going to fuss with that anymore. I'm going to go back and open the lighter image because that one I use a higher ISO, so there should be more grain. So I'm going to use that. You can see lots of nice grain up here. Like I said, I don't mind grain or noise, but I'm going to show you where we can adjust for that. These little triangles here under detail, this is where you're going to find sharpening and noise reduction. So sharpening, I'm going to show you on something with some detail. I wouldn't adjust these things anywhere but at 100%, okay? No one's going to be zoomed in that far anyway, especially not if this is for, you know, a website or Facebook or something. So sharpening, you can see, if you watch maybe over here in the details, how you get a sharper image, okay? You want to go just a little ways. Like, I wouldn't go any further than that. If you go further, it gets real noisy. That's noise right there. So I like to kind of mid-range, but we're going to go all the way back because I'm going to show you how to reduce noise now. So you're going to see noise more in solid colors, darker. The darker the area, the more noise you're going to notice. Up here, I'm going to show you if you use your luminance setting and slide that slider over, you're going to see a much smoother image before, after. You're also going to notice, though, in areas with more detail, before, after, you're going to lose some detail. So you just have to find your happy medium. I'm going to go back to the other raw image really fast in Bridge, and I'm going to select them both, and I'm going to click to see if I can show you the difference in noise here. This will zoom to 100% right in Bridge. Now this is a little darker, so you don't notice as much, but that's why. The brighter image, higher ISO, more noise. Darker image, lower ISO, a little less, you know, a less noticeable noise. And you can even see some of the differences, you know, down here. You get a brighter image, but there's a little more detail. Yeah. So that's in Camera Raw. I'm going to switch over now and we're going to edit a straight out of camera JPEG image in Photoshop to show you comparatively how that might work.